So we are holding on Fabrengen from Shabbos Re'eh, Parshas Mevarchim, Shabbos Mevarchim, Chodesh Elul, Parshas Re'eh, but it's going to talk about Elul and the connection between Elul and Geulah, similar to what we spoke about, I believe it was last week, that one of the Rosh Tevis of Elul has to do with the idea of Geulah. So we're going to start on the fifth paragraph, on page 298. The first page. The fifth paragraph is in continuation to what the Rebbe spoke about earlier in the Sicha, that in Elul it hints the idea of tshuva, and Elul hints at tzedakah, gemilas chasadim, Torah, tefillah, and then on top of all of that, the Rebbe says Elul Rosh Tevis Ashira LaHashem Vayomru Leimer, that El is the Rosh Tevis of the words, I will sing to Hashem, and they say, saying, and they said, saying, so to say. Oy, a different way of saying the Rosh Tevis, I Hashem, Vayomru Leimer Ashira, that it's backwards from the word El. But the main thing is, it's part of Shiras Hayam. It's the song that the Yidden sang at the sea after they were saved from their oppressors. So too it should happen immediately now. Asher B'Shira Zu, in this song that was sung at the Yamsuf. Nermezes Gam Ashira de La'asad Lava is also hinted the future Shira that we will sing when Moshiach comes. It says, just like there were throughout Jewish history, there were different occasions when Yidden sang Shira to Hashem, so too, when Moshiach comes, we will also sing a Shira. And not only that, it won't be just a regular Shira, but it's called Shir Chadash, a new song in the masculine. K'maimer Hazal, like the Chazal derived, that Oz Yashir has to do with the future time. Oz Yashir. It says the words Oz Yashir, Shar Loy Namar. It doesn't say Oz Shar. Then they sang, which would mean that the Torah is referring to what happened then during the Kriyas Yamsuf, during the splitting of the sea, that's when they sang the Shira of Oz Yashir. El Yashir, it says, then they will sing Lashon Asid in the future. So that means that the Shiras Hayam, and where it says Ashira LaHashem Vayomru Leimer, is something that is referring to the future song that we'll sing when Moshiach comes. Nimtza comes out, Rosh Tevis El Merumas, and the Rosh Tevis of El it's hinted. By Sof Al Torah, avoiding Muchtasadim B'Tshuva, in addition to what the Rebbe spoke about earlier in the Sicha, about the Torah and the service of Hashem through davening and doing acts of kindness and Shuvah. Gam Inyan HaGeulah, also the redemption is hinted in the Rosh Tevis of El, which the redemption is something that builds on everything else. Tachlis Hashleimus the Chol Ma'aseinu Avodaseinu B'Torah V'Avodah G'Melsadim V'Tshuvah. All of these other Rosh Tevis, when do they reach their completion? What are they leading to? What's the perfection of all of our actions and our service in all of these above mentioned things? In Torah, in the service of Hashem through davening, in doing acts of kindness and Shuvah. Their culmination is, their perfection, their goal and purpose is the Geulah. So therefore it makes very much sense to have Geulah as being one of the Rosh Tevis of Anila Doidi V'Doidili. So the Rebbe adds Ois Daled, V'yesh Lahoisiv, we get at Inyan HaGeulah, Loidak Tachlis HaShleimus Ma'aseinu V'Deseinu. The idea of the redemption is not just the completion and the perfection of our actions and our service, it's actually also a part of the very service itself. The idea of Geulah, before the Rebbe's emphasis, is that Geulah is just, okay, it's something that has to be done in the future. Geulah, not done in the future. It will something that will happen in the future as a result of our actions now. We don't think of Geulah as being part of our work. Learning Torah is part of our avodah. Davening is part of our avodah. Tshuva is part of our avodah. Doing acts of kindness, giving tzedakah is part of our avodah. Geulah, especially in the world, That's something for Hashem to bring about. So first of all, the Rebbe is going to bring one basic component of Geulah, which is part of our Avodah, which is looking forward to the Geulah as part of our Avodah. L'chayl, first and foremost, Emunah b'yis HaMashiach v'atzviyah l'boy, the belief in the coming of Moshiach and looking forward to his coming, not just believing they'll come, but looking forward to it and hoping for it. Asher inyan zeh u'miyisoidei hadas. This belief in the coming of Moshiach and looking forward to his coming is from the foundations of Yiddishkeit. Ukipsag din Rambam, like the ruling of the Rambam is, Kol mi she'eino mamin bo b'melech HaMashiach. Oy mi she'eino mechakel b'yosei, whoever doesn't believe in him in Mashiach, or he doesn't await his coming, loy b'shar neviim belvad u'koifer, not only is he denying all the other neviim, in other words, meaning, let's say, Yeshaya Novi spoke about Mashiach's times, Yecheskel spoke about the Mesa Mikdash of Mashiach's times, etc., etc. So not only all the rest of the Nevi'im in Sifrei HaNevi'im is he denying, Shekol HaSfarim Aleim B'Dover Zeh, the Rambam says, all the Sifrei Nevi'im are filled with foretellings and nevuahs concerning the future redemption. But even more so, the Rambam emphasizes that a person that doesn't believe in Mashiach and doesn't await his coming, he's denying Ella b'Torah Moshe Rabbeinu. He's denying the first 5 books of the Torah. He's denying even Moshe Rabbeinu. Included in this belief in coming of Mashiach and looking forward to his coming, it's Geulah Labakosha Vatvia Vatzaika. It includes the request and demand and the crying out, Sheyaveh Moshiach Tzidkeinu Takeh from Miyad, that Moshiach Tzidkeinu should come immediately. Mevarchim b'tfilas hamidah gimel pam b'kol yom, like we ask in the Shemoneh Esrei davening 3 times daily. And the following request is Koilol Shabbos Yom Tovim, is also something that we do on Shabbos and Yom Tov, though in general there are many personal requests which we leave out on Shabbos and Yom Tov, but the following request is even said on Shabbos and Yom Tov. Our eyes should see when you return to Tzion. Now, in addition to the Shabbos and Yom Tov Shemoneh Esrei, ubetfilas Yud Ches brachas, and in the Tefillah of Shemoneh Esrei, where we actually have all the 18/19 brachas, she'omrim b'mei hachoil, that we say during the weekday, in truth, the Rebbe says that the 18 brachas of Shemoneh Esrei, the 19 brachas of Shemoneh Esrei, though we do not recite all of them on Shabbos and Yom Tov, it's generally only 7 are recited. So it's not because Shabbos has nothing to do with those things, but rather because out of respect for Shabbos and Yom Tov, the Rachamim did not burden a person to add all of these additional brachas. But be that as it may, every day we say, and even on Shabbos and Yom Tov we would have said, if not for the fact that the Rachamim didn't want to overburden us on Shabbos and Yom Tov, Magdimim, we preface as Tzemach David Avchomer Satzmiach, Ki L'shuascha Kivinu Kol Hayoim, the sprout of David, your servant. You should quickly make blossom and sprout, because for your salvation we hoped the entire day. Through this request and demand and crying out for Mashiach, this actually helps. It's not just some like Kabbalah's oil thing that Hashem wants us to daven for the Geulah, but it actually, through this we actually bring closer and we speed up the coming of Mashiach. Like we've spoken about many places at great length. And the Rebbe even brings in a footnote that this is not something he made up. The Chidah writes about this, that the very hope and looking forward and wanting Mashiach is what brings Mashiach. And so he, in the footnote he also points to Sicha of the Frierdiker Rebbe. Okay, next page. So the Rebbe goes on to say, in addition to, we're trying to explain how Geulah, which is in part of the Rosh Tevis of Elul, has to do with an avodah. What type of avodah is Geulah? Geulah is something Hashem brings. So first of all, the avodah of Geulah is that I need to work on bringing the Geulah. Meaning, I need in the basic way. I'm not talking about doing my Torah mitzvahs. We're talking about there are things specific to Geulah that I need to do avodah in. I need to believe in Moshiach's coming, and I need to hope Moshiach's coming. I need to beg Hashem for Moshiach's coming. This is another avodah of Geulah, on top of the avodah of Tshuva, on top of the avodah of Torah, avodah of Gmos Chasadim. Then the Rebbe adds another aspect, how Geulah is an avodah. V'oid v'gam ze'ikar, additional, this is also primary. Kedei sha'avodah b'chol inyanei ha'Torah mitzvah. All that are avoided in all matters of Torah and mitzvahs should be as appropriate. The person that's doing the avodah has to be in a state of redemption. And the Rebbe is not talking here about spiritual redemption. He means physically, materially, without any types of bilbulim, as he calls it, without any types of burdens and disruptions and disturbances. He needs to have a redemption from all matters that burden him and disturb him. Similar to what the Chazal say, the Torah was given in the wilderness. In the wilderness, the Yidden did not have any worries whatsoever. They had food prepared for them. They had no disturbances and disruptions from matters of the world. Since they're eating, and also this includes all their other needs, was ready for them. They didn't have to be concerned about anything. There was bread from heaven that has no waste product. It's not like wheat, for example, that you need to go ahead and thresh it and remove the kernels from the stalks. It came ready to eat, or at least ready to cook, depending on the person's level. Valderech, similar to that, not just didn't you have to worry about your food. It says your clothing did not fall apart and did not rot away upon you, because the clouds of glory would clean their garments and press their garments and so on. Therefore, a Yid knows and thinks and contemplates that the state and situation of the Geulah is only for a small moment. But take it from Yad Mamish Tove Agula Mitzvah Shlema. Immediately, the true and complete redemption is going to come. Hare Kol Allah Mitzvah Stadium the Cheshchas Agolus Eina Mafriim Loy Lavid Avidosim Techsimchov Tuvlevav. All the concealments and all the coverings of the darkness of Geulah do not disturb him. To do his avodah out of joy and gladness of heart. Liyoisam davras mani bilvad, because they are only a temporary thing. Simply put, if I have a problem, but I know in 5 minutes the problem is be over, so I don't waste these 5 minutes even thinking about the problem, because I know in 5 minutes they're going to be over. So a person thinks, I don't have the freedom of mind to concentrate on davening or concentrate on learning or some other mitzvah, and I can't do it fully because my mind and my heart are preoccupied with different things that are happening to me or happening in the world, etc., etc. So the Rebbe says it shouldn't preoccupy you. You have to be in a Geulah frame of mind, which means I know that in a minute the Geulah is going to come, so why am I worried about it now? I know everything is going to be good in a moment. So therefore, there's no reason to worry. Let's skip to the end of the parentheses after the number 36. Therefore, therefore his avodah now, before Moshiach comes, the way he's learning Torah, the way he's davening, and so on, could be in a way of redemption. Similar to the way it's actually going to be when Moshiach comes. Valderech, and similar to what it says about great tzaddikim, that olam chatira b'chayecha, your olam haba, you will see already in your lifetime. So in a similar vein, that means even before Mashiach comes, they will experience a Mashiach type of mentality and situation, etc. The same thing, the Rebbe is saying that each one of us needs to live in a Geulah mindset, meaning living in the Geulah mindset means since he's expecting the Geulah any moment, nothing can bother him, nothing can disturb him from his avodah. Yeshloima, the Rebbe says, we can say that this idea that we just now said expresses itself in the saying and reciting of Shir Hayam, as we said before, the song at the sea it's hinted in it, the song of Mashiach's times, and we say it when? B'tfilas chol yom v'yom, every single day. 365 days a year, Yom Kippur, Tisha B'Av, Simchas Torah, Shabbos, Yom Tov, or ordinary Tuesday. We say Oz Yashir in davening. Shebachol Yom, Aimer Yehudi b'tfilasei lifnei Melech Malchei Amloch HaKadosh Baruch Hu. A Yid says in his tefillah before Hashem, before the King of the Kings of Kings, Hashem. So he's saying, what do you mean I'm saying it before Hashem? Oz Yashir is not yet the part where I'm really addressing Hashem. Addressing Hashem happens by Shemoneh Esrei. So the Rebbe says in the brackets, Shari Av she'ikarat tefillah tefillas ha'amidah, though the primary part of davening, meaning I'm addressing Hashem with my request, is Shemoneh Esrei. Mikol Mokim Gam Hachana L'Tfilas Ha'amidah Nemeres L'Fnei Melech Malchei Amloch HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Also the preparation for davening Shemoneh Esrei, which is everything from the beginning of davening until we reach Shemoneh Esrei, is also being said in the presence of and before the King of Kings Hashem. Ubefrat Chelik Ashir Shebetfilah. Of all parts of davening, which is especially so in front of Hashem, that's the Shira part of davening. Inyan Klali Betfilah, the idea of Shira, a song to Hashem, is a general idea that embodies davening in general, like Yisum can explain. Shari Shira, Himi Eser Hashemis. Shira is one of the 10 names that Tefillah is known for. And Chassidus always explains that when you have multiple names for different things, it's not just, okay, there is just the same thing is called by different names. When you have multiple names, every name has a different content to it, a different meaning, a different level. Just like the famous Maimer Chazal about the Neshama. It says, Chamisha Shemes Nikrula. The Neshama was called by 5 names. And we know throughout Chassidus, these 5 names are 5 levels. Nefesh is one level, Ruach is another level, Neshama is another level, etc. So the same thing, if davening has 5 names, so the Rebbe says in the parentheses, within the brackets, davening has 10 names, and Shira is one of the 10 names, so that means it's not just just an alternative name, but it's Aifanim V'dargis Tefillah, it's one of the 10 types of and levels of davening. So therefore, of all the parts of davening, the part that's known as Shira, by which one of the names of davening is known by, is of course something that is vital and crucial and central. And what are we saying before Hashem? Oz Yashir Lashon Asid. We are saying, then they will sing in the future tense, like we said before. Hainu, this means to say, Shekvar Athor, already now, I am reciting a future song of Mashiach's times. That means that already now, Yesh Etzloi Mein V'Dugmas Yashir Lashon Asid, Ashir Adol Asid, that the person davening has already something similar to the Yashir that will be in the future, the future song. Mekivan, how come? How could he be having the future song now? Because also his avodah now is in the state and situation of redemption. So now, the Rebbe always wants to bring things that sometimes seem like way out there, or generally beyond what maybe a person that's normally familiar with Yiddishkeit may not be familiar with. And the Rebbe likes to bring it down in the most concrete fashion. The most concrete part of Torah is halacha. something that's brought down in halacha is real of the real, because we're talking about, we're ruling and we're saying that this has to be done in a certain way because of such and such. Otherwise, you could say, yeah, the Medrash speaks in different esoteric and spiritual things, whatever that means. But when it's brought down in a halacha, or it has an impact and it has a connection with something in halacha, that means that it's real and down to earth. So the Rebbe says, according to this, we could explain an additional concept, the connection of the coming of Moshiach and the future redemption as part of a halacha in Torah. Torah inyana hayra. The idea of Torah is in the word lesson, directive. It's a manual. What are we supposed to do? Person buys a car, it has a manual. They buy a dishwasher, it has a manual. They buy a washing machine, it has a manual. The Torah is a manual. It's something that's applicable and matters to the service of a person. Seemingly, since the coming of Moshiach and the future redemption, it's about a reward. And reward, we know, is not now. Today, we have the obligation to do the mitzvahs, but on the morrow, when Moshiach comes, that's the time of reward. So therefore, the idea of Geulah seemingly has nothing to do with Torah. It's not about a manual. It's not a directive. It's not a lesson on what we're supposed to do. It has nothing to do with halacha l'maisa, with action. So how come is it incorporated and made part of Torah from the word Torah? And the Rebbe even brings even more so in many places, that the Rambam brings it in his halachas. Both we mentioned the previous time, he brings it in Hilchas Tshuva, and he brings it in the end of the Rambam, Hilchas Malachim. Why? The Rambam, even more so, is a halacha sefer. Why does it matter in halacha to know this? So the Rebbe says on the top of the next page, the explanation, this is, according to what we said earlier, the idea of Geulah is not just something, a reward that will come in the future. Rather, this reward of Moshiach's coming is applicable and has impact on the avodah itself. Because the knowledge and awareness of the reward, Geulah, the true and complete redemption, it affects that the person should be able to do his avodah in a way of redemption, kanal baruch, like we spoke earlier at length earlier in today's Sicha that we were learning. For this reason, the ultimate perfection of the idea of reward, that the awareness of it is not necessary for the perfection of the service these days. Loi nisparish b'Torah was not explicitly said in the Torah of Loi nisgala fil Nevi'im. It was not revealed even to the Nevi'im, to the prophets. Ein Loi rosa l'kim zul secha. It says about the ultimate reward in Mashiach's times. It says, no eye has seen it, Hashem, except for you. In other words, the Rebbe is saying a very interesting thing. The Geulah's general situation, that's important, because that is how we're supposed to do our avodah now, that we're supposed to be in a Geulah mindset. But more detailed and inner aspects of the Geulah were not explicitly stated. Why? Because Torah is about halacha l'maisa. Torah is to teach us what to do. And the awareness of deeper ideas about the reward of Mashiach's times has no impact and no relationship with our avodah now. So that's why it wasn't told to us. It's similar, there's a story, I think, with a chassid at Tzemach Tzedek, that once went into the Tzemach Tzedek and had two questions. One question he had was about the wings of the Malachim, about the different wings. It says they have 6 different wings, whatever. And another question was more having to do with Avodas Hashem. So the Tzemach Tzedek answered him his question Avodas Hashem, but he did not answer his question about the wings. And he told him, I don't know if the Chassid asked or however way he told him that what's Negeh and Avodah, that I answered you. In Avodah, it's not Negeh for you to know the different ideas of wings and so on. What they are, what's the Malachim's wings have to do with the Yid's Avodah down here. The same thing in Maimonides Chassidus, we will a lot of times see that there are different things discussed that seem to be of a Kabbalah nature, but on the other hand, there are like big holes left, or just there'll be like a very short concept without further elaboration, because the elaboration of that concept does not matter in Avodas Hashem. Chassidus is not like Kabbalah that a person learns in the Zohar or other Kabbalah Sfarim. Other Kabbalah Sfarim are out to study about the spiritual, mystical spheres above. That's not what Chassidus is about. Chassidus is everything that we're learning has to have an application in Avodah. So we'll see things that are clearly elaborated upon, and then other things it will say like a short point or completely skip over a certain point. Why? Because it's not Negeh and Avodah. So the same thing over here. The idea of the Geulah and some general concepts of the Geulah, that's Negeh and our Avodah now, to be able to do our Avodah now in a Geulah fashion, in a way that's without disturbances and disruptions, etc. But certain very mystical and deep things were never revealed even to the Nevi'im of the time of the Geulah, because it doesn't matter in our Avodah now, and that's what Torah is about. Torah is about a lesson, directive. It's not just giving us unnecessary information. Okay, Oizvav. Amnam Lidof Gisa, but on the other hand, Haribad Bevad, Im Shleimus HaAvodah B'Ofen Shel Geulah, alongside and hand in hand with the perfection of the Avodah in a way of redemption, that, in other words, that a person needs to be in a redemption state of mind. Like we said before, they need to see themselves, that all their problems and issues are as if resolved, because in a moment's notice it's going to be gone. That doesn't deny the other half of the equation. Yes, nagamatzvia, bakosha tfia. There's still the looking forward and hoping. And there's the request, and there's the demand, mikerev v'leiv amik, from the depth of the heart. Legeulah amitis v'ashlema, to the true and complete redemption. And the Rebbe says, why is that? I'm living already in a Geulah state of mind. Why does it have to bother me anymore? So the Rebbe says, moving a Gam Pashut, it's understood and it's obvious also. That the state of redemption, how it can be experienced now in my own mind and heart, it's incomparable. As much as I can live now in a Geulah framework and fulfill the Torah mitzvahs in a Geulah state of mind, it is incomparable whatsoever to the perfection of the Avodah that will be in the true and complete redemption when Moshiach comes. First of all, there are mitzvahs. There are mitzvahs that many mitzvahs we can't fulfill now. We're not even talking about mitzvahs that's impossible to fulfill them these days. Hakravas karbonis, shmitim v'yovelis, bringing karbonis, and the sabbatical year and the jubilee year, all these things. Obviously, as much as I'm in a Geulah state of mind, I still don't have these mitzvahs. So obviously, the true Geulah, when Moshiach comes, I'm going to have all these mitzvahs. But the Rebbe says not only that, even concerning mitzvahs, that their fulfillment can be done today and we're doing them now, they're still not the same type of mitzvah and not the same type of level of fulfillment as the mitzvahs that I would do, those very same mitzvahs when Moshiach comes. Even though I'm in a state of Geulah and my mindset and so on. Since that's the case, the ultimate and perfect service in a way of redemption from all things that disturb him, as much as it's possible in the time of Geulah. Eina bestira klal v'klal letzvia v'akosha v'tvia chulu shetavoy ha'geula ha'mitzvah v'ashlema de Moshiach that came and take from Yad. It's not at all a contradiction that to the hope and request and demand that the true and complete redemption through Moshiach should come immediately. Sha'az, because then when Moshiach comes, as great as Geulah dik as my avodah is now, the avodah of the Yid will be in a way that's incomparably higher than anything I experience now, even though I'm doing it in a Geulah frame of mind. And again, the Rebbe always wants to bring things in a way of halacha, that we see a halachic example of this. So he says in Zayin, V'yesh lahavi dugma l'davar beis ktzavis anal b'halach. We could bring an example for this of these two extremes. In halacha, on the one hand, we're living and we're supposed to live in a Geulah state of mind, as if Mashiach already came, and at the same time, demand for Mashiach to come fully and totally because of the much greater type of level of Geulah that we'll experience then. Concerning the service of the Kainim in the Beis HaMikdash. And that in truth, the Rebbe is going to bring this example of the Koyanim, and the Rebbe right away says, because really what the Koyanim exemplify is something that has to do with every Yid. The avoid of a Koyan, that is really the general avoid of every Yid. It doesn't say, I shall rest within them. I'm sorry, but it says, I shall rest within them. It doesn't say within it, meaning the Mishkan, but within each and every one. That Hashem rests within the spiritual Mishkan, the spiritual Beis HaMikdash that's in every single Yid. Asher b'Mishkan u'Mikdash zeh hu HaKoyen. In this Mishkan that's within me, in this Beis HaMikdash within me, so I am the Kohen Gadol of my own Beis HaMikdash, the Rebbe said. I'm the Kohen of that Beis HaMikdash, I'm the Kohen Gadol, till I'm the Kohen Gadol of that Beis HaMikdash. It's such a geschmackig concept. Like it says, you will be from me a kingdom of Koyanim. And the Chazal explain what type of Koyanim. The Baal Turim says, Koyanim hainu Koyanim gedolim. When Hashem calls us a kingdom of priests, it means not just any priest, but we're all a kingdom of high priests. Until what do I have inside of me? The perfection and the ultimate service of the Kohen Gadol, Yom Kippurim, skip the parentheses, which is Achas Bashana, which is once a year, Shin Yoni Lias Nimshach Lashbia B'chol Hashana. The idea of the once a year of Yom Kippur is to draw down and to influence the entire year. So once we've established that every Yid has their inner Kohen and their inner Kohen Gadol, so the Rebbe is going to bring something about the Koyanim that we see these two extremes, similar to living with Geulah now, and yet hoping and begging and looking forward to the Geulah that's going to come. It says, Asher kol koyin sheyesh bein mum kavua, bein mum over leikanis lemikdash. Any koyin who has a physical blemish, the Rambam writes, it's a quote from the Rambam, whether it's a permanent blemish, whether it's a temporary blemish that will eventually heal and pass, cannot enter the Beis HaMikdash. But there's still certain differences between someone that has a permanent blemish, a permanent physical defect, to someone that has a passing blemish. This means to say, in regards to certain aspects, a passing blemish, a passing defect is not considered a mum. So we see the same thing over here. There's a situation where a person could be in the Geulah, but it doesn't compare to the real Geulah when Moshiach comes. Top of the last page, we're going to Geulah Yanenu concerning our topic. Matzav HaGolus liyoyse l'mashach zman belvad rega kot. The state of Golus, since it is only for a duration of time, a small moment, hareza al derech ubedugmas mum oiver. This is similar to a passing blemish. Ubechein yesh laminyone avodah shebiyachse leim ein ze nechshav lemum. There are such aspects of service that in comparison to those, in regards to those types of service, it's not considered a blemish for those types of things, the passing blemish. We didn't say exactly what that is. In those aspects where this passing this passing blemish is not considered halachli a blemish, so his avodah can be perfect, his avodah can be complete. He could be in a state of Geulah. There are such aspects of service of Hashem that in comparison to them, gam mum oiver nechshav lemum. Even a passing blemish is also called a mum, is also called a blemish. Kloimar, this means to say, shebizman hagolus lo yichoylo liyas avodah, that in the time of exile he has this passing type of blemish. In other words, the passing blemish is the blemish of the exile that he has. And therefore, therefore, it is very great what he's looking forward to, and he has a very great hope and shukah and yearning. He has a very great request and demand, legula mitzvah shlema, to the true and complete redemption. Only then can he do his avodah perfectly and ultimately in all of his matters, in everything that's possible. And that's why a yid davens and begs and demands to have that ultimate avodah.